All right, folks, get this out of the way right quick here. So, let's see if we can answer the question of the title. Let's think about this carefully. And for me, I'm going to focus on basketball. And I'm going to speak in generalizations here for the most part. I'm just alerting y'all that way, you know. But I think that to a degree, especially with basketball, is that it's definitely a form of imperialism. It's definitely a form of control. Now, of course, people will say, "Oh, well, it's it's capitalism and this and that," but I definitely think it does because we think about, like I say, basketball, which of course was created by a Canadian, but it became a very American sport, as we know. Sorry about all the noises there, folks. Anyway, is that it became a very, once I would say by the time, the 70s and 80s came around, is when, if you weren't quite ready to be in the NBA and actually be in the A League, I think that there's a D League and other places where you can play in minor leagues and everything else. Maybe I'm getting it mixed up with baseball. Sorry. But anyway, you can go to Europe. And, France has a huge basketball consortium. Croatia, Latvia, Estonia. A lot of the time, these European players and the American players will play for a bit and then come back and, maybe get a big old contract. But also European players can have a chance to come over here and play for, the Knicks or play for the Brooklyn Nets or whatever the case may be and get millions of dollars. This is one of the things that I think puts a wedgie in a lot of the ideas of combating a lot of, capitalist tendencies. And it's not really talked about very much. I'm surprised because it's so obvious. It really is. It's just plain as day. Where these sports figures can get, 7-figure deals, 8-figure deals, to play, maybe what? I mean, let me take a look here at the average stats here. Average NBA season. Let's see here. I'm going to do it this way. Average number. Yeah, we'll do average number. NBA. Number of NBA games for a season. 82 games. Okay. So 82 games between what? I can't think. But anyway, usually, going into, usually the spring. And then the fall is football. But the thing is, it's one of those things, I think, when I was reading State and Revolution last time, was, of course, Lenin makes the separation between the bourgeoisie state and the state in general. And this is very important. Because you can smash the bourgeoisie state, as he says. You can destroy the bourgeoisie state, but the state in general will wither away. I thought about this a little bit, and that if you had the Venn diagram between the state and what you can consider the state in general, it wouldn't be quite a perfect circle, but there would be an extreme amount of overlap. It would just be, there would be literal millimeters between the edges of both of those circles, where that it's pretty much they're so tied together that you can't separate them. And I think, like I say, sports is one of those things. Sports is so integral into the United States. And that people have this idea that they see it as a form of lottery. That, if my son plays basketball or plays football or gets, his Olympic star, then, we're in the money. Do 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 do. That's how a lot of American citizens feel. Me speaking as American, I think that's pretty true. And I think it's very important for us to think about. Because as much as people, this is, I think, one of the reasons why people would rather focus on the bigger issues and the more obvious things, such as colonialization, or talk about, the embargoes against, the DPRK, the Democratic People's Republic of Korea, and Cuba, for example. But they aren't as willing to talk about the other obvious, albeit a little bit more obscure, somewhat, of how sports is a form, and is a tool of American imperialism. I think that's very, very important to realize. You'll have international teams. And you'll have, even to a point you think about the Olympics, which a lot of the time, if you really think about it, the Olympics would be considered reactionary, according to, Marxist-Leninist ideas. Because it displays nationalism. It's this, very chauvinistic way of doing it. Now, of course, the Soviet Union boycotted it, particularly because of their feelings. But yeah.
Are you in class?
I thought you said 1 o'clock.
I'm ready.
You said 1 o'clock.
What time is it?
It's not quite 1 o'clock, Goober. It's only 12:45. Give me 15 minutes.
Okay.
All right. Thank you. All right. Well, excuse me for that exchange, and now now I've doxed myself a little bit. But anyway, so to kind of finish this up, because I'm kind of rambling here, but I think that it would behoove you, as someone who is at the very least, I would assume with my audience, is that we question capitalism. Of course we do. I am questioning capitalism and how it really feels about people. Of course, it sees you as a number. It sees you as something to make money with, and it's also there to to portray an image. This image of American exceptionalism, this false idea. And I think that sports is definitely part of that. And we have to think about that. Just the same thing as people would talk about the military and say, many Americans see it as, as for most average people, of a way of getting out. Instead of, working a humdrum job that you can get kicked out of. Now, of course, the military has changed as well, as we know, is that if you do not meet, if you do not reach rank in time, then they will boot you out. Now, of course, this can change very quickly. But I think it's important to realize just how deep the system goes. I think it's important to realize. Just as Lenin said, I believe in chapter 5 in State and Revolution, where he talks a little bit more about how, we will smash the military and police into atoms, but we're still going to have a secret police to protect the people. I'm vaguely speaking. I'm paraphrasing. I could get the book, but I'm just too lazy. Everything else, I'd rather just spout nonsense, and you can say, I don't know about that one, Chief. And that's fair. You can do that. You can go ahead and type out, don't know about that one, Chief, and, and proceed to roast me. That's fine. Go ahead. But, I will say, like I say, I'll try to finish this up. But sports has, of course, shut down. The IOC, the International Olympic Committee, has postponed the Summer Olympics. I believe it's Summer Olympics. Hopefully I'm not getting it mixed up. But anyway. And we, of course, have seen the shutdown. We've seen that, a lot of the football players are continuing to play. The basketball players, to a point, are probably playing on their own. But they're practicing the overused phrase of social distancing with air quotes. But this is part of the system. And this feeds a lot of people. I thought about this because I was watching, of course, Stephen A. Smith videos. Because, of course, he's a funny guy. He's kind of like Jeremy Clarkson. Very flamboyant sort of guy. And he's gained a lot of notoriety. He's been on Days of Our Lives and this and that. So, we see that, obviously, with capitalism, is that once you become a star, once you become that guy, you can just cross over into these things. You don't have to be a professional actor. You don't have to be a professional this and that. You can just be someone that's popular, and capitalism will bow at your feet. Because capitalism will co-opt anything that's popular. I'm kind of going off the mark here a little bit. Admittedly, but it's something I thought about, and being the impulsive person that I am, it is something to think about. So, I think it's food for thought nonetheless. It's kind of going on long here. I appreciate that one person hanging on. I don't know who that is offhand. I'm going to say it's Reese. And, if I do sound a little bit more Gomi-like, more communist-like, I apologize. But I think that sports is definitely one of those things we have to question. And whether or not it is really, and I think it is. I think it's very much a part of the existing system. And it's going to be something that you can't completely abolish, because people love their sports, especially in this country. They love their football. They love their basketball. Tennis, that's more elitist. That's much more bourgeoisie, much more bougie. Same thing with, gymnastics. Somewhat, it's kind of petite bourgeoisie, I would say. But I think it's, these are things worth questioning. And I think that, but yeah, it's all a matter of co-option. Instead of serving the needs of the owners, whether it's people like, Jerry Jones for, the Cowboys, or even for head coaches like Bill Belichick, who apparently had a falling out with Tom Brady. I don't really care for Tom Brady for the simple fact that he's asking his son to kiss him on the lips. But it goes to show that sports are definitely part of the problem. But you can't up and get rid of them either, though. And so it's going to take a lot of delicate chess moves, kind of like how I was talking about with János Kadar when he took over the Hungarian nation in 1956, late 1956, early 1957. And he gave enough to people and gave enough of an image. I think overall, that he was a pretty bland guy. I just got the book on János Kadar, so I will be doing a video on that. But anyway, just to kind of finish up, is that we have to be very delicate. And a lot of people are LARPing. A lot of people are talking shit, saying, yeah, we're going to kill all the fascists. And, they get a little loose, particularly people like Vosh. Once again, I'm sorry to even mention his name again. I apologize. But these people are influential, so you have to talk about them to a point. But anyway, they throw around the word Nazi a lot. And of course, if you ask them point blank, though, what do you think about sports? They don't have an answer. I don't know anything about that. Or, because, of course, we're all spurgs who would rather pay attention to, the bigger issues, the more obvious things, the stuff that a lot of people are talking about that everyone wants to hear about. But I think with sports, that's much more influential to the lumpen proletariat. It's much more influential to the average, everyday person. And of course, leftists in general never liked sports because they didn't like their boomer dad talking about football. And that's one of the things that I think if lefties were smart about, that they would talk about. But like I say, that's going to be one of the bigger problems because in general, political people and dissident political people, left-wing or right-wing, they are cagey people. They're spurgs. They, have read Nietzsche and read, all of Lenin's work and all of Marx's work and all of Engels' work and works, and they've read all these other, dare I use this word? I'm going to use this word loosely, but prophets of political thought and of philosophy, that they don't want to dirty themselves by talking about sports. They don't want to talk about what goes on with their local football team. They don't care. They don't care about what goes on with softball or their local soccer team. They don't talk about those things. And that's something that I think political dissidents are going to have to think about in time. So anyway, I think I'll keep this. I have to go out with my mom and whatnot, as you heard. That's another reason why I turned these off, so that you didn't see my face anymore. I'll probably be doing it like this from now on. It's just much more comfy. I'll probably, maybe I'll private those videos where I show my face, which is 90% of the content that I've had on here. But anyway, I think I'll keep it there. Food for thought. That's all I have to say about it. Food for thought. I'll let y'all think that over. So as always, y'all have a good one. Bazinga. There we go.